Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is May the 20th, 2025. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully you had a good Tuesday. Hopefully it was a good Tuesday for you. I would say my Tuesday was very good. We went to work. I will say the snag for the day was definitely that it was cold and very rainy. At least for a May. So, I was getting rained on because that's just how my compactor works. It's very, that's how my compactor works. It's very leaky. So, excuse me. That wasn't too fun getting rained on, being cold. And of course, I chose, I knew it was going to be a colder day today, but I was so stubborn because I wore sweatpants yesterday and was too hot. And I even took off my hoodie. I was like, you know what, Isaiah, let's just wear the shorts and we'll have the hoodie too. And I'll probably wind up taking off the hoodie again. Nope. We should have just wore sweatpants. So, you live and you learn, hopefully. But overall, though, outside of just being cold and wet, it was a good day. It was a good work day. Then, post work, we went to the gym. Gym was solid. Nothing really spectacular. Another maintenance day, but nothing's hurting, nothing's aching. It wasn't too busy either. It was busy. It was it was typical Tuesday in that regard. But I was able to hit the things I wanted to hit, machine wise. So I was happy about that. So yay. A bit of, what am I listening to and whatnot. I recently wrapped up a limited series podcast called Project Unabomb, and that was pretty good. It was about Ted Krasinski, the Unabomber. Surprise, surprise. But I don't know. It definitely had me thinking midway, and I was like, I really gotta make sure that I get out. And y'all know I do. Y'all know I've every weekend y'all can catch me up in Northside acting a fool, and I'm really glad that I have that outlet of people. I'm really glad that I didn't do the thing that's so I think easy for a person to do, which is just to retreat in themselves. That was my big takeaway from that little podcast. Plus, it was interesting. I love a limited series that really just hits the ground running, lays out the situation, gives you all the details, but does it in a very it doesn't necessarily do it in maybe a ABC thing. It kind of does it in a very interesting way to kind of keep you engaged on something you probably have already heard of 100 times. So I thought this podcast did a really good job of that. So I would definitely recommend it if you're a podcast enjoyer outside of just little old me. It was a pretty interesting thing. Plus, it was also cool because you got to hear his brother David Krasinski. So to actually hear the brother perspective and where he was coming from and how just different they were, but then also how similar they were. I don't know. I found that to be very very interesting. So yeah, I definitely would recommend that one. Let's see here. Is there really anything else to mention or note? No, I don't think so. Let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into some news. Not gonna lie, I accidentally had a little bit of a heavier pregame. But these things happen, That's how a startup can go sometimes, you know what I mean? Anyway, let's start off with a story from the BBC. UK EU deal moves us on from Brexit rows, Starmer says. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has said it's time to move on from political fights about Brexit as the UK and the European Union agreed to a major reset of relations. The UK and the EU have struck a deal that covers fishing, trade, defense, energy, and strengthening ties in a number of policy areas still up for negotiation. A key part of the deal involves giving European fishing boats a further 12 years of access to British waters in exchange for easing some trade frictions. It marks the biggest reboot since the UK officially left the EU in 2020 and comes after years of disagreements over Brexit. The Conservatives and Reform UK have described the deal as a surrender to the EU, while Liberal Democrats said the government had taken, some positive first steps to rebuilding ties with Europe. The agreement was finalized late on Sunday, ahead of a summit involving EU chiefs Ursula von der Leyen and Antonio Costa in London on Monday. Let's see here. I mean, this was something that is a big deal. It can kind of feel like a nothing burger, obviously, in the States. But I would say, like, okay, about time the Labour Party actually showed up and did something. I will say, does this do a lot? No, because it really doesn't undo anything out of Brexit. It's not a coming back, to the group or anything like that. But it is something that is, getting better and closer to normalizing relations that were broken, since the Brexit happened. So, I mean, I think that's overall a good thing. I'm not surprised to hear conservatives and, people on the farther right to be like, oh, yeah, this is backwards. This is backpedaling. We're like becoming more subservient to Brussels, which is like, I think they are going to have more say and sway again over like fishing rules and stuff. That's part of the deal. That's just the way I guess it works for the EU or whatever. I don't know. But it's like, dude, this is overall a good thing. You kind of got to take it as such. I think to me, the bigger bummer is that this is the most relevant thing I've heard out of the Labour Party since they got back into power. So it doesn't really bode well. I don't think, and I mean, granted, I don't have too many UK friends. I don't really like talk to them about this kind of shit. Even if I did, and if I did, try to hit them up, I don't want to waste their time talking their ear off about like how do they feel about being in the UK politically. That sounds weird. But I just don't think people are really like feeling the vibe, which naturally is going to lead over time to you guys just losing more and more influence, more and more power, and eventually the shit gets flipped again, which I don't want to, wind up coming back to cover. So, in a way I'm worried about that, but it's just a shame that like these are supposed to be like the liberals in power and they're supposed to be doing something and they're just not delivering on anything. So that kind of sucks. And I think you're just happy that you don't have a conservative in power because you're just seeing what Trump's doing. That's supposed to be the optimism angle here, I guess. I don't fucking know, y'all. So I did want to start off with that. Just say like, hey, okay, cool. They did something. And it's just general interesting stuff if you're interested in trade deals. Anyway, from the NPR. Supreme Court says Trump can strip protected status for Venezuelans for now. The Supreme Court on Monday allowed for now the Trump administration to remove legal protections for roughly 350,000 Venezuelans now living in the U.S. under a program that had protected them from deportation, known as Temporary Protected Status, or TPS. The court's decision allows the Trump administration to end TPS for this group pending appeal of the case, paving the way for possible deportation soon. A federal judge paused the administration's plans on TPS a week before it was scheduled to end on April 7th, resulting in the Trump administration filing an emergency application to the U.S. Supreme Court. I did want to read this highlighted portion too. Let me skip that a little bit. The court's unsigned brief did not elaborate on its reasons, which is common in emergency orders before the High Court. The court did say that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson would have denied the application. So good for her for like saying, hey, I definitely got to make it known that I'm not okay with this. I mean, in terms of what's going to happen now for people, it's murky. It's sad, specifically, obviously, for Venezuelans. I think now it becomes like an individual case. And if you can have the opportunity to, take it to court, appeal it, whatever, then you can fight it. But as a whole now, you don't have that protection. And these motherfuckers can come for you, and, like a thief in the night, the Trump administration. So that's concerning to me. That's upsetting to me. Especially, and it's all done under the guise of like, yeah, we're keeping you safer with this. Like, we're infringing on these rights that we've given these people because they're coming from, war torn, heavy conflict areas, whatever. And we're saying, we're keeping you safe now, Americans that we want to, keep look after. And now you're happy, you're good now, right? And it's like, no, man, like shit is still scary out here. There's never gonna be 100% safe. There's no way you're eliminating crime or deleting violence by doing this kind of shit. But it appeals to your base, I guess, if you're the Trump administration. So you're gonna keep pushing for this shit. I'm really upset to see the Supreme Court move on this case this way and rule on the case this way, especially with like no explanation. Not that really helps or make it go down easier, but I would like to hear what these motherfuckers have to say, what is their actual takes on this shit, and they kind of just get to hide behind the fucking barrier on this shit. I don't like that at all. Also, it's important to note that like every Supreme Court case, it has a focus, but the overall here is now worse for every kind of person who has like a TPS status. So not just for Venezuelans, even though that's obviously the focus here, but you kind of have to think that in the near future it's only going to become more and more like threatened. Your status, your safety here is only going to become more and more of a concern, a problem, and that sucks. I don't know. Call me crazy, but I'm the type of American that just thinks that that's not how this should be going. That you should have a protected status. In fact, there should be more people here. I don't know. I've said this shit thousands and thousands of times. I really don't want to go, into the weeds about it. But it's just a shame that you see all the way up to the highest courts, them submitting to Trump like this. And it's like, oh, they're fighting it on some stuff. It's like, no, they should be fighting on all the shit. Anytime I see Trump get anything like a win, I get upset. I get angry. Because it's not how this shit should be, man. I don't know. It's very bleh to me. And let's move on to another story, a bit of an update. If my computer loads up for me. All right, looks like it is. From USA Today. New Orleans fugitives armed and dangerous. Jail employee linked to escape arrested. The maintenance worker arrested in connection to the New Orleans jail escape didn't just help 10 inmates break out. He unleashed armed and dangerous fugitives on the community and beyond by extensively colluding with them, Louisiana's top cop said Tuesday. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Muriel, acknowledged in a Fox News interview that people are on edge after the daring May 16th breakout. Jail employee Sterling Williams, 33, has been charged with multiple counts of being principal to simple escape and malfeasance in office. Let's see here. 4 of the escapees have been captured, all within New Orleans city limits. Muriel. I keep wanting to say Muriel, but it probably is Muriel. But we're gonna say fine, Muriel. We're gonna say Muriel. Sticking with that one. So considering the 8 to 10 hour lead the inmates had before their absence was discovered, some might have reached other states. All of them are considered to be armed and dangerous, Muriel said. If you look at the charges they're being held on, they're all very serious charges. A couple of them have been prosecuted multiple times for murder. Williams admitted to investigators he complied with the demand from one of the inmates to shut off the water to his cell, allowing the escapees to rip out a toilet and sink unit and climb through a hole in the wall that created, Muriel said in a statement. The sheriff's office said the inmates appeared to have used a tool to cut through steel bars behind the toilet and sink fixture. Multiple outlets have reported they left behind a mocking message on the wall that read, "Too easy, LOL." So yeah, Williams was compliant, but he said that this was under duress, that he was threatened, that they threatened to shank him, like one of the members. He's seen, on camera talking to, I believe, 2 of the people involved in the escape. Let's see. Actually, I can just go ahead and read it. Yeah, Williams said one of the inmates threatened to stab him with a shank if he didn't follow instructions. Authorities said Williams, whose bond was set at $1.1 million, was still at fault for lending his assistance. According to Muriel, Muriel extended beyond the early morning when the inmates fled. Let's see. She pointed out that without his cooperation, the escape attempt would not have been detected. Oh, and it's also worth noting that they came to him and they said, and they asked him about it, and he denied any involvement. And it was only after he was like, arrested for it that he's like, okay, I did do it, da 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 da. Obviously, when they cut through these pipes, they would have flooded the cell, and that would have alerted people to a problem. We think it was more than just that night, Muriel said. We believe this person had multiple days of involvement. So they are alleging that he was more complicit than he's letting on. He's not just a patsy. But that all being said, I wanted to at least close out this part of it by noting that leaves 6 escapees on the loose, with 4 being apprehended. Let's see here. Was there anything else I really wanted to cover out of this? No, yeah, we're good. Obviously, we will be coming back to the story, but I felt like it was good update in the sense of saying, hey, we did find the inside man, so to speak. It was a jail employee. And then we also now have an update as well on the number of people recaptured. So yeah, I figured that was worth noting. Now let me go ahead and take a water break, and we gotta talk about a little bit of a pizza pie true crime. Pizza pie true crime. That's not easy to say 5 times fast. I'll tell you what. Pizza pie true crime. Pizza pie true crime. I'm only gonna do it that many times. Oi, oi, oi. Oh, man. All right, from People Magazine. I always say People Magazine, even though they probably don't want me to say it that way. But at the same time, in the top header, you have magazine, newsletters, and sweepstakes. Ooh, you going to sweepstakes. Anyway, sorry. French pizza chef accused of killing man before dismembering and cooking body parts in pot of vegetables. Yo. So, I read that headline. I was like, I'm talking about that today. I have to. I just have to. A French pizza chef has been accused of killing a man before chopping up his body and cooking some of it with vegetables in a bid to mask the odor, according to reports. Former butcher Philippe Scheider, 69, nice, allegedly confessed to killing, is it George? I'm going to say George. I want to say George's, but it's probably like Jorge, but it's like with a G. Anyway, we're going to say Jorge, and you can just, I'm a mea culpa. Jorge Michler, 60, who lived as a recluse in the village of Brace, France, in February 2023, per The Telegraph. On Monday, May 19th, Schneider appeared at the Rodez Aziz court, where he's being tried for killing, dismembering, and cooking parts of Michler's body before scattering his remains on his land, Le Parisien reported. Snyder is accused of the killing alongside his partner, Natalie Kabubasi, 45, The Telegraph noted. Now, they're both in the thumbnail. The pair reportedly moved to the region in 2019. He eventually opened a pizzeria called Don Filippo in Saint Seren Serrance, the outlet stated. Now, I gotta say, I mean, the pizza looks okay, once again, from that thumbnail, it looks alright, right? How did we wind up here? And we're getting to that, I guess. Schneider reportedly admitted to killing the victim, while Kabubasi denies involvement, according to The Telegraph. A third suspect, gravedigger Loop Ben Rakia, has also denied involvement, the outlet reported. You got a gravedigger involved? It's looking grim. It's looking grim to start. Per Le Figaro, Snyder wanted to steal money and cannabis from Michler's isolated house in the woods. However, the attempt ended with the victim being tied up, gagged, and beaten. So, let's like make the record stop right now. That's already weird to me because like apparently the pizza could not be that good at Don Filippo's, because how are we struggling that bad that we can't afford weed? We can't afford the cannabis that we want, and things are so bad that we're going to a recluse's home to acquire some cannabis and money. We're just gonna take it like Skyrim style. Like we're just gonna pickpocket them. We're gonna like sneaky sneak. No, like this is not good. This seems bad. It's almost like giving like a Clockwork Orange vibe, but pizza pie time. Like I don't like it. It seems fucked. I don't know. Maybe I'm jumping to conclusions. My suspicions has on, but it's like once again, maybe things weren't great at Don Filippo's. Maybe throwing that out there, putting that in the oven, see if it rises. Scheider claimed the victim suffocated. He said he took the body back to his house and waited 3 days to respect the transmigration of the soul. How noble. And when I first like read this is where I was like, there's something unnerving about this guy that made me go, okay, maybe it's not so bad. But then I like really like recommitted what he did to my mind, and I was like, no, this dude's fucking odd. He's an oddball. He allegedly dismembered Mischler's body before burning his organs. He later returned to the victim's house, where he reportedly cooked the other limbs in large pots with vegetables to mask the odor. Now, I gotta say, y'all, I'm not gonna lie to you, y'all. I thought this story was going to get to a point where he's gonna put it in the pizza. I thought he was gonna do it. I thought that this is where we were gonna go with it. I thought we were gonna get Sweeney Todd with it, but that's not where we go. Scheider had allegedly cut up the body, cooked it, and then incinerated it in the victim's wood stove and garden. The suspect reportedly told investigators that he'd scattered the victim's ashes across the property after burning his head, hands, and feet, the Telegraph stated. I have no words to express my guilt and my many regrets, but I understand the anger and disgust I can evoke. I offer my sincerest apologies to the family. This is an act of madness that should have never happened. I pled guilty to all the charges against me, Scheider said, according to the La Parisienne. Wild story. Like it's just weird that like, and there's more to it here, but that's details. Like the idea that it's just like, oh yeah, we just wanted to kind of get a little bit of money, a little bit of cannabis. It's like there's just something more to that I'm not seeing, or it's not being revealed, or it's just, once again, maybe it's just the dark intent of this guy, of this pizza man. He was just down to do some dark shit. Like that's just crazy to me. So I had to come here and yap about the story a little bit, just to say we did it. Obviously, condolences. That's sad as fuck. You know, like, once again, kind of a theme, a bit of a motif being revealed for this episode of just being a recluse, being like, you know, just cloistered off. I can relate to that. I can totally relate to that vibe. I just wanted to be like, ugh, I'm done. I don't want to be into anybody. So you're just chilling, right? And the next thing you know, the fucking local guy from the pizza guy from Don Filippo's is coming and he fucks you up. He just fucking beats you up. Like, and then ties you up and he kills you allegedly or whatever. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, man, I don't want to go out like that is what I'm saying. That fucked me up, man. I was really bummed about this, but I mean, all the same, very interesting story. So wanted to bring that to ya, serve it up. Anyway, let's go ahead and close out. We got a recall. Like, that's just been the theme. I've been on recall mode, food recall style. I've also decided that there are car recalls out there. I'm not covering them. I was gonna try that the other day. I was telling a friend this, and I'm not interested in telling you how fucked up a Tahoe is today. Like, I mean, they're out there, but I just don't want to yap about it. You know what I mean? But I mean, hey, if you're passionate about car recalls, maybe I can change. I can swap it up. Especially if you're a newsie. If you're paying newsie, I will cover what you want. Like, that's a little secret bonus that you get. I mean, you don't abuse it. Don't get crazy. But yeah, no, I totally want to cover things that you guys want to hear. If there's any suggestions and stuff, you know, it's like, you know, throwing that out to the audience or whatever. But yeah, it's just not my bag. It's not my beat. But I will talk about a fucking bag cucumber But anyway, let me go ahead and take the last break, and we'll close it out. Hui. Oh man. Ooh. Oh. Oh. Skibidi whoa. From Parade. Salmonella outbreak linked to the whole cucumbers. Sorry, I added the what to know. Oh boy. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, has issued a warning concerning an investigation in several states related to an outbreak of salmonella linked to whole cucumbers. According to the agency, there have been 26 reported cases in 15 states that have resulted in 9 hospitalizations. There have been no deaths linked to the outbreak. The whole cucumbers affected were grown by Bedner Growers Incorporated and distributed by Fresh Start Produce Incorporated between April 29th and May 19th of 2025. Like I said, 15 states, but guess what? OHIO is involved in this recall, or at least the salmonella situation. So I wanted to definitely just mention that part. Let's see. However, the CDC warns the outbreak may not be limited to the states that they do mention with known illnesses, and the true number of sick people is likely much higher than the number reported. This is because many people recover without seeking medical care and are not tested for salmonella. The first reported illnesses from this outbreak was reported on April 2nd, with reports running through April 29th. Recent illnesses may not yet be reported, as it usually takes 3 to 4 weeks to determine if a sick person is part of an outbreak, the CDC adds. So very tricky. Once again, details. They mention there was an outbreak that was taking place on a cruise, and that was all coming out of Florida, something like that. So beware, buyer beware. I've been thinking, y'all, speaking of cucumbers, I've been like, that's been like a vegetable that I've been wanting to maybe incorporate into my diet. I know, bad timing, right? Haven't done it quite yet, but definitely, ever since the TikTok craze of putting the cucumbers in a little container and putting chili peppers and blah 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 in there and shaking it all up, or letting it sit, whatever they do, whatever those young little kids are doing on there with the cucumbers and the peppers. Anyway, it looked yummy. And then ever since then, I've been like, man, I could definitely have some cucumbers. I'll tell you another thing I've been wanting to incorporate: sweet potato. Ooh, I want to get a sweet potato in my life. I want so much food. I always do, y'all. I always want to eat. I always want to eat something yummy. But anyway, that's where we're going to close it out for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, become a newsie today. Patreon.com/ZayaNews. Like I said, you get access to some old ass archived episodes. I really don't add to that. I don't really plan on adding to it, but they're there if you want. If you just want the whole collection, technically, there's some bonus gems there, I guess, whatever. But also it's just it's a tip jar, and I shout you out at the top of the month. I plug a project if you'd like, things like that. It's real simple. It's real light shit, but just makes it a little spice in the pot. It does help out a lot, but free ways to contact me: isanews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any other socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. That's a free way to help out the effort. Leave a like, leave a comment. Sharing is always caring. Other ways to help out and just be a part, keep up with the Joneses, I guess, whatever you want to call it. TikTok, I'm on there. Though, you got to find me, I guess, but that's the podcast. I don't post anything else on the TikTok other than that. Then there's Spotify, if you're not already listening to that. That's kind of the main HQ. Then there's Apple Podcast, there's that. Whatever you're listening on, that works. I don't know. I'm on apparently a lot of plats, I'm appreciative of that. Thank you, Spotify, I guess. Whatever. Not sponsored anymore. Thanks. Punished, I guess. Excommunicadoed. Whatever. But no, I'm available. You can listen to me that way. And even if you don't want to hit the button and you just listen, you just hang out, you click it for a minute and you leave. That is useful. That is great to me. Like, and I don't just mean useful in the fiscal sense. I don't just mean useful in the clout chasing sense. I mean useful in the sense of like, damn, thank you for just being on the other end of this shit. I like knowing that I'm not just talking to myself. I will do it. I'll do it without a microphone. So shit, I'm just happy that someone's here to hear me out. It's kind of nice, kind of cool. I fucking love that part. So hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye bye.